Corey Lewandowski in Atlanta with us, Trump Pence 2020. He's been here for several days, going to be here this week with Martha Bandena. Hey, Corey, great to have you. Sorry for the hold, man.
Good morning, Corey.
John, happy anniversary. Martha, good morning. And guys, you are doing great work. And so, John, I know how hard it is to do anything for a decade. And so for anybody who's out there listening to John and his radio show right now, go to John Fredericks Radio Show, make a donation. He and Ann have worked to build something that conservatives can be proud of. So go out and support John because, I've been a huge supporter. I have tried to help John, and I'll tell you what, he has delivered every single time. He has been there on Team Trump since the very beginning when many, many, many other people didn't believe Donald Trump was going to be successful. John, you've always been there, so let's make sure we support him.
I tell you what, thank you, Corey, and you've been a fabulous friend of ours. I met Corey when he was at AFP, and as soon as he joined the Trump campaign, he turned the lights on.
Yes, he
January
did.
2nd. I started my show January 2nd, 2010. Corey turned the lights on in Trump Tower on January 2nd, 2015, and when I first went to his office, it wasn't really an office, Corey. There was wires. There was no floor. I mean, there was just like wood, like plywood on the floor, wires hanging all over the place. He had a desk and a phone and a computer, and all the wires were hanging off the door. Corey, remember that?
Oh, John, I remember it. And look, that's because we were grinders, right? We didn't – look, I don't need a fancy desk. All these people who need these palatial offices, that's why they lose. We want to make sure the money that we were spending was for – the opportunity for people to hear what Donald Trump had to say. I think we were successful, obviously. He has changed America for the better over the last 4 years. John, I can't believe, honestly, that this started way back in 2015, if you think about it, right? 6 years ago now, John, we've been doing this with Donald Trump, and it's been an amazing ride, and the ride is over. Look, I spoke to the president yesterday. He is continuing to fight. I've spoken to him every day probably for the last week. He's coming to Georgia today. I'm in Georgia today. Did a big rally yesterday with Ted Cruz and Tim Scott and Mike Lee and so many others. And it was a huge event. And, look, what we know is our republic is at stake. And a couple of weeks ago, John, I was on your radio show, and the callers were angry. They were mad that, the governor didn't do what he was supposed to do and the Secretary of State didn't do what he was supposed to do. And they were going to take it out on Kelly and David, which I don't understand. I really don't understand it. So we've got a huge election tomorrow. We anticipate about 1 million people still showing up at the ballot box tomorrow. And exactly what you said, John, if we get 60% of that million people who turn out tomorrow to vote for us, David, Perdue, and Kelly Loeffler go back to Washington, D.C., and they keep what is potentially a Joe Biden administration, but definitely a Chuck Schumer majority leader in check.
Listen, we got to get 1 million turnout. That's it. I mean, my analysis is, and I'm not sure if you agree with me or not, but I've got us down by about $175, 175,000 going into tomorrow, and maybe you get another 10 or 15,000 they'll get with ballots that come in at midnight, and the way that goes. But you're right. If we can get 1 million, we can get 1,000,001. And last time we got 64% of those voted for Trump. I'd expect 60%. We win. If we get 700,000, Corey, we're going to lose. And so that's why going out on game day becomes so critical. And look, I still think Trump is going to get inaugurated on January 20th. That's what I believe. And I'm going to stay with that until something changes. If he does get inaugurated and we lose, what good is it? He can't get anything done, right?
That's exactly right, John.
If he doesn't get inaugurated, then you have no country. So you got to get out and vote.
Everything's on the line.
John, look, the American people have to remember something. The last time the Democrats had all three divisions of the legislative body, so the House, the Senate, and the White House, it was Barack Obama's first 2 years in office. They passed Obamacare, the bill that we have to pass it before we can read it. It saddled Americans with terrible health care. They told us if you like your doctor, you can keep it. We know the whole thing was a farce. But now, here's the important thing. The Democrats have told us exactly what they're going to do. This isn't pretend. We shouldn't be surprised if they end up in the majority in the U.S. Senate. They've told us they're going to pack the courts. They're going to change the filibuster rules. They're going to saddle us with, more debt. They're going to increase our taxes. They've told us everything they're going to do. So if people in Georgia don't turn out and vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, they have no ability to complain. And look, I agree with you 100%, John. I think we're down in the early vote right now. 3 million plus people have already voted. We know that on Election Day, our people have historically come out to vote, but we can take nothing for granted. At the rally I did yesterday here in Georgia, I would say 80% of the people who showed up had already voted. That doesn't mean we have the opportunity to not fight tomorrow. Donald Trump is here today. Our election is tomorrow. You must go out and vote and bring some friends.
Corey, we need to get that million turnout, so that 20% that you saw yesterday at the rally that didn't vote, that's what we need to get out tomorrow. That's going to be the key in order to holding the Senate, and either way we need to do that. And I agree with you. People are angry, and a lot of the callers that I talk to, I mean, I've got my issues with the candidates, but none of that matters now.
None of it.
On the last day, I mean, Perdue in quarantine, not going so he doesn't get booed off the stage. I mean, he tested negative. None of that matters. What matters is Tuesday, get out and vote. Corey, I want to get to the phone call that the Trump made to Raffensperger. You know, when I got up yesterday before football, I saw it all over the news, and Tim Kaine was on Mumbo Jumbo. And what the Washington Post had done is they released excerpts of it, and they took everything out of text and released the worst, like 6 excerpts they could and branded it that way. So I'm like, what the heck? Then I get the transcript, and I read it 3 times, Corey, and I'm like, it was a great phone call. Like, what? Tell me what I'm missing here.
John, this is once again a media narrative trying to put words in the president's mouth. Look, I saw, what's his name, Bernstein from Watergate from 1972 came out yesterday or today and said, this is worse than the Watergate calls ever. Stop it. Okay, number one, I don't understand a call with the President of the United States is first recorded, A, and then B, released. I don't understand that. I don't know how the media gets that. I've never seen that with Barack Obama, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. I don't understand it. So clearly somebody was trying to hurt the president. Number two, he didn't ask for anything other than what he believes rightfully happened, which was, hey, go find the fraud. We, are down about 11,800 plus votes in Georgia. Go find it. Go fix it. Go do your job is what he's asking people to do. And all of a sudden, the media, specifically CNN, MSNBC, their heads explode, and Donald Trump could face criminal charges. You're going to face criminal charges for asking someone to do their job? Give me a break. This is such ridiculous nonsense that all they want to do is continue to attack this president. And you know what? The American people are tired of it, John. They're tired of a press that didn't want to give them a $2,000 stimulus check, but wanted to give billions of dollars to countries overseas. They're tired of politicians who say one thing and do something different. That's what the American people are tired of, and that's why Donald Trump still has amazing support. 95% of Republicans polled believe Donald Trump should A, if he doesn't win, run again, and B, still have a strong support for him.
Corey, let's get to January 6th. Walk us through, best case, what happens?
Well, it's very interesting because I had the opportunity yesterday to sit with U.S. Senator Mike Lee from Utah, who, by all accounts, is truly a constitutional scholar.
Yes.
And what he explained to me, and John, look, I'm a dummy. I went to public schools, right? Not the smartest guy, maybe one of the hardest workers, but definitely not the smartest, and I think your listeners will agree with that. What he explained to me, and the way it would work on January 6th, just a few days from now, is the U.S. Senate would have to accept or deny the results of what the state legislatures sent to Washington, D.C. in the form of members of the Electoral College. Now, the way Mike explained it, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so please give me a little leeway here, is there is no constitutional requirement for the American people to vote for President of the United States. It comes from the state legislators, who actually vote not for the president, but for electors to go and vote for who they believe should be the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. And so what Mike explained to me, Senator Lee explained to me, was the way it would really work in Washington, D.C., is that state legislators, specifically, let's just say Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and others, decided to vote for a slate of individuals, regardless of what the popular vote in their state said. So regardless of if it was certified that Donald Trump was a winner or a loser, it does not matter. The state legislators have the opportunity to then vote. No governor is required of this. This is a House and a Senate in the state House is specifically would vote to send people to Washington, D.C. to cast their ballots for either Donald Trump or Joe Biden. If that were to occur, then the U.S. Senate would be basically pro forma, and they would have to accept the rules of those state legislators who sent those specific delegates to Washington. Now, John, as we know, specifically in my state of New Hampshire, the Republicans took over the state house.
Right.
So in theory, today, they could change the individuals who have been cast as electors to Washington for the Electoral College. So the House of Representatives in New Hampshire and the New Hampshire State Senate could pass they don't have to pass a law. They just say, we in a joint session have decided that we're going to send these 4 individuals to Washington, D.C. That's all it would take. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but that's what is required right now. And right now, there were 6 or 7 states that talked about sending multiple delegates to Washington, so both Republicans and Democrat electors, members of the Electoral College, but none have actually done that is the issue.
So basically, on the 6th, it looks like, Corey, right now we're going to have about 200 House members, right? There's only, I think that's the estimate I was reading. You could get up to 200 House members, 185 to 200, who are going to object to the results on these 6 states because of the fraud. And the fraud, and we've got Garland Favorita is going to be with us at the 8 o'clock hour, and he's got a hearing today in Georgia, in Atlanta, at 11 a.m. to get a ruling in favor of a forensic analysis of these mail-in ballots in Georgia. If he wins the ruling and they do the forensic analysis, by the time the 6th rolls around, 1 day, 2 days, they're gonna have a result, and they could find that there's thousands of ballots that are fraudulent because they were manufactured. All that is in play, right? Garland's going to be with us at 8. So they have this debate for 2 hours per state. It's going to go on for 24 hours, and then it's got to go. Then we hope that they can litigate this and bring the fraud out in front of the whole world. And then it's going to be tough for the state legislators not to convene and to look at these dueling electors. Does that kind of sum it up, Corey?
It does. And look, is it an easy path? Of course it's not. Is the path still viable? It is. And look, I think we're going to see a massive rally at the Capitol on the 6th, no matter what. We're going to see tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people who want to come out because, John, I was at Chick-fil-A yesterday. I got in the car and I drove to Chick-fil-A and I waited in line, and there were about 6 cars in front of me, and I thought I was at a Joe Biden rally, right? There were 6 cars. That's all there was, okay? Actually, I wasn't at Chick-fil-A yesterday because it was a Sunday. I think it was Saturday, okay? But it was, there's 6 cars in front of me, and they say to me, hey, you're at a Joe Biden rally. And I'm going to go to the event tonight here in Georgia, and there's going to be 20-plus thousand people come out to see Donald Trump. And so don't believe your lying eyes, I guess is the old term, right? Don't believe what they tell you. Look at your lying eyes. It just, John, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've seen it. I've traveled the country with Donald Trump. I've seen the enthusiasm. I've seen what he has done for so many people. Black, white, orange, green, purple, blue, doesn't matter. Everybody was better off under Donald Trump. Our America was stronger under Donald Trump. And I just don't think that people say, I don't like his rhetoric and I love my bank account, so I'm going to vote him out of office. I just don't think that's the case. I think that clearly there were irregularities in a number of states. I think, very honestly, the team did a bad job being prepared for Election Day, and now we're seeing the results of that. As we sit here in Georgia right now, there is nothing more important than seeing our Republicans, moderates, and conservatives turn out tomorrow, show up and vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, because if we don't, we can't take the chance that the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives will not do the right thing.
Corey Lewandowski, I want to thank you for, first of all, being here in Georgia this week, going to the rally. Tonight, we're going to see you there, obviously. And, Corey, thanks for all you've done.